Being wrong is inevitable. It's part of being human, part of learning, and part of growing. But how you handle being wrong, the words you choose, the posture you take, the defenses you deploy, determines whether being wrong becomes a moment of growth or a relationship-destroying catastrophe. Most people handle being wrong terribly. They deploy predictable defensive phrases that make everything worse. These phrases damage relationships, destroy credibility, poison workplace culture, and turn minor mistakes into major conflicts. This guide identifies the exact words and phrases you should eliminate from your vocabulary when you're wrong, explains why they're so damaging, and provides better alternatives that preserve dignity while acknowledging error. Why this matters. Before we dive into the specific phrases, understand why this topic is critical. Relationships depend on it. Trust erodes not when people make mistakes, but when they handle mistakes poorly. The inability to admit fault gracefully destroys marriages, friendships, and professional partnerships. Credibility is built on it. Paradoxically, people who admit mistakes quickly and cleanly are more respected than those who are rarely wrong but never admit it. Defensive mistake handling broadcasts insecurity and untrustworthiness. Growth requires it. You can't learn from mistakes you won't acknowledge. People who use defensive language when wrong create a psychological barrier to learning. Power dynamics shift on it. In any relationship, personal or professional, the person who can admit mistakes gracefully holds more power than the person who defensively deflects. Category 1. The minimizers. These phrases attempt to shrink the mistake, making it seem less significant than it is. It's not that big of a deal. Why it's terrible. You don't get to decide what's a big deal to someone else. This phrase dismisses the other person's feelings and experience, adding insult to injury. What it communicates. Your feelings are wrong. You're overreacting. I don't respect your perspective. I'm not actually sorry. Example scenario. You forgot your partner's birthday. They're hurt. You say, "It's not that big of a deal. We can celebrate tomorrow." The damage. You've now created two problems, the forgotten birthday and the dismissal of their hurt feelings. Better alternative. I understand this is hurtful and important to you. I messed up, and I'm sorry. It was just a joke. Why it's terrible. This phrase retroactively reframes something hurtful as humor, making the other person wrong for being hurt, instead of you being wrong for the hurtful action. What it communicates. Your hurt is your fault for not having a sense of humor. I didn't do anything wrong. You just misunderstood. I'm not willing to take responsibility. Example scenario. You made a cutting remark about someone's weight. They're upset. You say, "Come on, it was just a joke." The damage. You've turned a moment where you could build trust by acknowledging impact into a moment where you blame them for being hurt. Better alternative. I see that hurt you. That wasn't okay, joke or not. I'm sorry. I barely, hardly, only. Why it's terrible. These qualifiers minimize your actions as if the scale determines whether an apology is warranted. What it communicates. I didn't do much wrong. You're making too much of this. Small errors don't deserve real apologies. Example scenarios. I only raised my voice a little. I barely touched your car. I hardly said anything. The damage. The person hearing this feels like they're crazy for being upset about something you've just declared insignificant. Better alternative. Remove qualifiers entirely. I raised my voice. That was wrong. Or, I damaged your car. I'll take care of it. Everyone does it. It happens to everyone. Why it's terrible. The prevalence of a mistake doesn't make it acceptable or reduce harm. This phrase tries to normalize the behavior rather than take responsibility for it. What it communicates: this is normal, so you're wrong to be upset. I'm not special. Why single me out? Standards shouldn't apply to common mistakes. Example scenario: you gossiped about a colleague. You're confronted. You say, "Everyone talks about each other here." The damage: you've defended the behavior rather than acknowledging the specific harm you caused to a specific person. Better alternative: what others do doesn't make it right. I shouldn't have said that about you. Category 2. The deflectors. These phrases redirect attention away from your mistake onto something or someone else. But you? What about when you? Why it's terrible. This is classic whataboutism, countering one issue with a different issue. It's a transparent deflection that prevents resolution of the current problem. What it communicates: I'm keeping score. Your mistakes cancel out mine. I'm not willing to address this separately. Two wrongs make a right. Example scenario: you lied to your spouse. They confront you. You say, "What about when you lied about where you went last month?" The damage: you've escalated one problem into a referendum on the entire relationship. The original issue remains unresolved while new conflicts emerge. Better alternative: you're right. I lied, and that was wrong. I want to address this first, and I'm open to discussing other issues separately. You made me. You drove me to. Why it's terrible. This phrase removes your agency and makes someone else responsible for your choices and actions. What it communicates: I'm not in control of myself. You're responsible for my behavior. I'm a victim, not someone who made a mistake. Example scenarios: you made me so angry that I yelled. Your nagging drove me to lie. You pushed me to this. The damage: you've inverted the situation, making the hurt party responsible for both your action and their own hurt feelings. Better alternative: I chose to yell, and that was wrong, regardless of how frustrated I felt. I was just trying to. My intention was. Why it's terrible. While intentions matter in some contexts, leading with intentions minimizes impact. It's saying, focus on what I meant to do, not what I actually did. What it communicates: my intentions should excuse my impact. You should care more about what I wanted than what happened. I'm a good person, so this shouldn't count as a mistake. Example scenario: you gave unwanted advice that made someone feel incompetent. You say, I was just trying to help. The damage: you've centered your good intentions instead of their actual experience, making them feel selfish for being hurt by something well-intentioned. Better alternative: I understand that felt patronizing, regardless of my intent. I'm sorry. If you had just. If you hadn't. Why it's terrible. This construction makes your mistake conditional on someone else's behavior, implying they share blame for your actions. What it communicates: this is partially your fault. Under different circumstances, I wouldn't have been wrong. My mistake has an asterisk. Example scenarios: if you had just answered your phone, I wouldn't have worried and gotten angry. If you hadn't been late, I wouldn't have left without you. The damage: shared blame prevents clean acknowledgement and resolution. The other person now has to defend themselves while processing your mistake. Better alternative: I got angry, and that was my choice and my responsibility. Category 3. The false apologies. These sound like apologies, but actually avoid real responsibility. I'm sorry you feel that way. Why, it's terrible. This is perhaps the most infamous non-apology. It apologizes for someone's feelings, not for your actions. What it communicates: I'm not sorry for what I did. Your feelings are the problem, not my actions. I'm being magnanimous by acknowledging your incorrect emotional response. Example scenario. You excluded someone from an event. They're hurt. You say, I'm sorry you feel left out. The damage. This is so obviously not an apology that it's often more offensive than saying nothing. It's gaslighting dressed as contrition. Better alternative. I'm sorry I excluded you. That was hurtful and wrong. I'm sorry if. Why, it's terrible. The word if introduces doubt about whether harm occurred, making the apology conditional on whether they actually have a right to be upset. What it communicates: I'm not sure you should be upset. I'm covering my bases in case you have a legitimate grievance. I'm apologizing for the possibility, not the reality. Example scenarios. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry if that came across wrong. I'm sorry if you misunderstood. The damage. If makes the apology tentative and insincere. It protects your ego while performing contrition. Better alternative. I'm sorry I offended you. Or, I'm sorry I was unclear. I'm sorry, but. Why, it's terrible. Everything before but becomes meaningless. But introduces a justification that undermines the apology. What it communicates: I'm not fully sorry. Here's why my mistake is actually reasonable. I need you to understand my side before you get to feel better. Example scenario. I'm sorry I snapped at you, but I was really stressed. The damage. The but prevents the apology from landing. Instead of acceptance and closure, the other person now has to hear your justification. Better alternative. I'm sorry I snapped at you. I was stressed, but that doesn't excuse it. Note the reversal, explaining context after taking full responsibility. Mistakes were made. Why, it's terrible. The passive voice removes the actor. This political classic avoids saying who made the mistakes. What it communicates: mistakes happened mysteriously without human agency. I'm acknowledging the problem while avoiding responsibility. I'm being clever about not actually apologizing. Example scenario. A project failed due to your oversight. You say, mistakes were made in the planning phase. The damage. Everyone knows you're dodging responsibility. The passive voice is a tell for lack of accountability. Better alternative. I made mistakes in the planning phase. Category 4. The self-pitiers. These phrases center your suffering rather than the harm you caused. I feel terrible about this. Why, it's terrible. While this might seem like taking responsibility, it actually centers your feelings rather than your actions or the other person's experience. What it communicates: look how much I'm suffering. You should feel sorry for me. My guilt is the real problem here. Example scenario. You betrayed a confidence. When confronted, you say, I feel terrible about this. I've been beating myself up. The damage. The injured party now has to manage your feelings about your mistake. You've inverted the support dynamic. Better alternative. I betrayed your confidence, that damaged your trust, and I take full responsibility. I'm the worst person ever. Why, it's terrible. This dramatic self-flagellation is a bid for reassurance. It's performative guilt that obligates the other person to comfort you. What it communicates. Please tell me I'm not terrible. My pain about being wrong exceeds the harm I caused. I need emotional support right now. Example scenario. You forgot an important commitment. You say, "Oh my God, I'm the worst friend ever. I'm such a terrible person." The damage. Instead of addressing the missed commitment, the other person now has to manage your emotional crisis and reassure you. Better alternative. I forgot our commitment. That was disrespectful of your time. I'm sorry. This is so hard for me to admit. Why, it's terrible. This phrase asks for credit for the difficulty of admitting fault, making your discomfort part of the conversation. What it communicates. Admitting this is courageous, so appreciate that. I'm vulnerable right now. The difficulty of this admission should count for something. The damage. You're asking the injured party to acknowledge your bravery in admitting what you shouldn't have done in the first place. Better alternative. Just admit the fault without commentary on how hard it is for you. Category 5. The intellectualizers. These phrases create emotional distance through rationalization or over-explanation. Technically, I didn't. Why, it's terrible. Technically signals that you're about to split hairs, prioritizing literal accuracy over the spirit of the issue. What it communicates. Letter of the law matters more than spirit. I found a loophole. Your interpretation is technically incorrect. Example scenario. You promised to help with something and didn't. You say, "Well, technically I said I would try, not that I definitely would." The damage. You're arguing technicalities when what's needed is acknowledging the broken commitment and resulting harm. Better alternative. I didn't follow through on my commitment. I'm sorry. Let me explain. When explanation becomes excuse. Why, it's terrible. Explanation has a place, but leading with it suggests the explanation will justify or mitigate the wrong. What it communicates. Once you understand, you'll see this isn't really my fault. Context will absolve me. You're judging without full information. The damage. The injured party has to sit through your explanation before getting acknowledgement of harm. Better alternative. I was wrong. Would you like to hear what happened? Offer context after taking responsibility. From my perspective, the way I see it, why, it's terrible. Your perspective isn't in question when you're wrong. This phrase tries to make wrongness relative. What it communicates. There are multiple valid interpretations. My view is just as legitimate as yours. Right and wrong are matters of perspective. Example scenario. You shared confidential information. You say, "From my perspective, I didn't think it was that sensitive." The damage. You're debating interpretations rather than acknowledging concrete harm. Better alternative. I shared information that was confidential. That was wrong. Category 6. The promisers. These phrases make the mistake about the future rather than the present. It won't happen again. Why, it's terrible. While this might seem appropriate, Leading with future promises skips past present accountability. Also, you can't guarantee future behavior. What it communicates. Let's move past this quickly. The promise of future behavior erases present harm. I'm more focused on reassuring you than taking responsibility. The damage. Promises feel like attempts to end the conversation and move on before fully processing the harm. Better alternative. I was wrong to do that. I understand why you're hurt. Let them process before discussing the future. I'll make it up to you. Why it's terrible. Some things can't be made up. This transactional framing suggests harm can be balanced with compensation. What it communicates. This is a debt I can repay. Future good actions cancel past bad actions. We should move to solutions before fully acknowledging the problem. The damage. Some harms, betrayals, lies, cruelties, can't be balanced by future good behavior. This phrase trivializes that. Better alternative. I know I hurt you. I can't undo that, but I want to understand how to rebuild trust. Give me another chance. Why it's terrible. This puts pressure on the injured party to make decisions in the moment and centers your needs over their processing. What it communicates. You need to decide right now. I'm worried about my position. Your hurt is less important than my anxiety about consequences. The damage. The other person isn't ready to think about chances. They're still processing the hurt. Better alternative. I understand if you need time to think about whether you can trust me again. Category 7. The gaslighters. These phrases make the other person doubt their perception or memory. That's not what happened, when it is. Why it's terrible. Directly contradicting someone's accurate account is gaslighting, making them doubt their own memory and perception. What it communicates. Your memory is faulty. I'm the authority on reality. You're confused or lying. The damage. This destroys trust at a fundamental level. If you can't agree on basic facts, resolution is impossible. Better alternative. If you genuinely remember differently, say, I remember it differently, but I want to understand your experience. You're too sensitive. Why it's terrible. This attacks the person's character and emotional calibration rather than addressing your action. What it communicates. The problem is you, not me. Your emotional response is wrong. You need to toughen up. The damage. You've added insult to injury. Now they're defending their emotional response, instead of you taking responsibility for causing it. Better alternative. I can see I hurt you. That matters regardless of intent. You're remembering that wrong. Why it's terrible. Similar to above, this makes their perception the problem rather than your actions. What it communicates. Your mind is unreliable. I'm more trustworthy about your own experience than you are. You're confused. The damage. Foundational trust erodes when someone consistently invalidates another's memory and perception. Better alternative. Can you help me understand what happened from your perspective? I never said that, when you did. Why it's terrible. Outright denial when you did say something is gaslighting at its most blatant. What it communicates. You're fabricating things. I'm willing to lie to protect myself. Your grasp on reality is questionable. The damage. If you're caught in this lie, you've compounded the original mistake with dishonesty and gaslighting. Better alternative. If you don't remember, I don't remember saying that, but if I did, I want to address it. What to say instead? The right words. Having covered what not to say, here's what effective acknowledgement of being wrong looks like. The 4-part apology. 1. Acknowledge the specific action. I lied to you about where I was. 2. Acknowledge the impact. That damaged your trust and made you question other things I've said. 3. Take full responsibility. That was wrong, and it's my responsibility. 4. Express genuine remorse. I'm sorry I hurt you. The power of simple admission. Sometimes the most powerful response is the simplest. You're right. I was wrong. I messed up. That's my fault. I'm sorry. No qualifiers, no explanations, just clean acknowledgement. When to explain versus when to just apologize. Explanations have a place, but follow these rules. Explain when. The other person asks for context. After taking full responsibility, to prevent future similar mistakes, to provide closure. Don't explain when. It sounds like justification. The other person is still processing hurt. Your explanation shifts blame. You haven't fully acknowledged harm yet. The follow-through. Words matter, but actions matter more. Behavioral change. Actually do differently next time. Consistent accountability. Own the mistake in future conversations. Don't minimize it retroactively. Repair. Take concrete actions to address harm where possible. Patience. Accept that forgiveness and trust rebuilding take time. The psychology. Why we say the wrong things. Understanding why we deploy these phrases helps us recognize and stop them. Ego protection. Admitting fault feels like admitting inadequacy, so we defend. Shame avoidance. Being wrong triggers shame, and we reflexively deflect. Control needs. Accepting wrongness means accepting lack of control over outcomes. Conflict aversion. We try to minimize or explain away to end discomfort quickly. Learned patterns. Many people never saw healthy mistake acknowledgement modeled. Power dynamics. Admitting fault feels like giving up power. The irony is that these protective mechanisms achieve the opposite of their intent. Defensive mistake handling damages the things it aims to protect: relationships, reputation, and self-respect. The relationship impact. Long-term consequences. How you handle being wrong shapes relationship trajectories. In romantic relationships, inability to admit fault gracefully is one of the top predictors of divorce. Defensiveness erodes intimacy and builds resentment. In friendships, friends forgive mistakes easily, but struggle to forgive inability to acknowledge mistakes. In parenting, children learn relationship skills by watching parents. Defensive parents raise defensive children. At work, career advancement often depends on ability to acknowledge mistakes quickly and learn from them. Defensive professionals plateau. In leadership, leaders who can't admit mistakes lose credibility and team trust rapidly. Special contexts. When you're genuinely uncertain. What if you honestly don't know if you were wrong? Say this: I may have been wrong. Help me understand what happened from your perspective. Not this: I don't think I was wrong, but when there's shared blame. What if both parties made mistakes? Address your part first. I did X, and that was wrong. I want to take responsibility for my part. Then, I'd also like to discuss what happened on your end, but separately. When someone is misinterpreting, what if they're genuinely wrong about what you did? Acknowledge their experience. I can see you're hurt, and I want to understand that. Then clarify. I want to make sure we're on the same page about what happened. Can we walk through it together? In professional settings, workplace contexts require additional care. Be direct and brief. I made an error in the Johnson report. I take responsibility, and here's how I'm addressing it. Focus on solutions. After acknowledgement, quickly move to corrective action. Document apologies. Written apologies can be important for record keeping. Learn from it. Show that mistakes translate to learning and improvement. The practice, building the skill. Like any skill, this requires practice. Notice your patterns. What defensive phrases do you default to? Pause before responding. Take a breath before reacting to being confronted. Practice the words. Literally, practice saying, I was wrong, in low-stakes situations. Seek feedback. Ask trusted people to point out when you're being defensive. Reflect after conflicts. Review what you said and what you could have said differently. Model it. Be the person who acknowledges mistakes gracefully. Conclusion: the power of clean acknowledgement. Here's the paradox. People respect those who admit mistakes more than those who are rarely wrong. Being able to say, I was wrong, cleanly, without qualification or defense, is a superpower. It ends conflicts quickly. No defense means nothing to argue against. Builds trust. Vulnerability and honesty create intimacy. Demonstrates strength. Only secure people can admit fault gracefully. Facilitates growth. You can't learn from mistakes you won't acknowledge. Preserves relationships. Clean acknowledgement prevents resentment buildup. The words we've covered in this guide, the minimizers, deflectors, false apologies, and all the rest, they're comfort behaviors. They protect ego in the moment while destroying trust over time. Learning to eliminate these phrases from your vocabulary when you're wrong is one of the most relationship-enhancing, career-advancing, growth-facilitating skills you can develop. It's simple. Not easy, but simple. When you're wrong, say you're wrong. Say what you did wrong. Say you're sorry. Ask what you can do to make it right. Then be quiet and listen. No qualifiers. No explanations unless asked. No deflections. No defensiveness. Just clean, honest acknowledgement. The relationships in your life, personal and professional, will transform when you master this skill. People will trust you more, respect you more, forgive you more easily, and want to be around you more. All because you learn to say 5 simple words without adding 6 more that ruin them. I was wrong. I'm sorry. That's it. That's the whole skill. Everything in this guide is really just about learning to say those words cleanly, without the defensive additions that undermine them. Master this, and you'll be ahead of 95% of people in your ability to maintain healthy relationships. The power isn't in never being wrong. The power is in how you handle being wrong. Choose your words wisely.